What to know before your first class. All right, so we were thinking about this, like what would be really helpful for new students coming in who heard about Jiu Jitsu, want to get started. Maybe you're thinking about doing a trial class at some academy near you. What would be helpful to know before walking in? We already know that it's kind of probably a nerve-wracking situation walking into a room full of people that you think might be there to look to strangle you and stretch your arms, and they will. What can make that as comfortable as possible? Well, knowledge, really. It's just knowing some things that might be helpful beforehand, so you don't feel like, I guess maybe, I don't know, what's one of the most, I think the thing that people are most concerned about is looking dumb.
Yeah.
Right? Like being afraid that...
I'm still worried about that.
You're still... Your shrimp curl's good though. You got it down. But there are some times, I mean, that's one of the things that we noticed in our own class. We have what we call a core fundamentals class where folks are going up and down the mat and they're doing these basic movements. Well, if they've been doing it for a month or so, they're up and down the mat with a shrimp crawl, no problem. But for somebody who's new, and we'll show you what that means, it kind of makes them self-conscious that everybody's watching them and like they can't quite, it's kind of an awkward movement. So we're going to share that with you as well, some other things I think that will be helpful. But first, let's talk about etiquette, okay? Now, every school is different. We have our own actual code of conduct, but there's certain things that are universal that you're just going to want to follow, okay?
Don't smell.
There you go. Be clean, that's an important one. Don't smell, okay? And that includes having fresh breath, right? So, yeah, that's huge. Keep yourself clean. It's a very, very, man, the sport, you're down on the mat sweating around with people and...
Close.
Yeah, you're as close as you can possibly get, and people are in their bare feet and just faces on the mat and just, yeah. There's some things that are not going to be that comfortable at first until you get comfortable with the uncomfortable, but make it easy on everybody and make sure you smell good, you're clean, all that's covered, okay? I would include in that keeping your fingernails and toenails cut short. Okay, that's really important for the grappler.
Don't look at mine.
We're working on Mrs. Giesler here. Yeah, keep them cut short, right? Nasty stuff resides underneath there. You don't want to scratch somebody and cause an infection or anything like that. So another thing that's universal, no shoes on the mat. Okay, so wherever you go, guaranteed. And if not, if they don't require you to have shoes off the mat, run out of that building. Like right away. Don't stay. Don't take a class. Get out. Go. Yes. So no shoes on the mat. We have a policy where people are only barefoot on the mat only, right? So they're gonna walk their shoes or flip flops. We got a little shoe cubby over there up to the edge of the mat, and then they step on the mat just to keep everything nice and clean, right? So yeah, definitely wear your shoes when you go to the potty.
Potty. You can tell you're a dad.
Yes, I'm a dad. All right, bowing. So that one's a toss-up. It really that's something that you're going to want to ask the instructor. What?
I said just don't.
Just don't. But well, what if it's how they? It's a personal thing. Like I kind of follow along with how I learned coming into this art. The only thing that was traditional about Jiu Jitsu when I kind of entered into it in the early 90s was the gi, right? And there's a purpose for it. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But yeah, I mean, that was, I even asked my instructor, Helson, like, hey, first time I met him, like, how do I refer to you? He's wearing a master's belt. Do I call you master or am I supposed to bow? And he just looks at me and puts his hand out and says, call me Helson, it's my name. He goes, you show me respect by showing up to my class. And so I liked that a lot. And when I met Gracie, I did the same thing. I was very honored to meet you, Mr. Gracie. Shook his hand because that's actually how he preferred to be greeted. In Japan, where Jiu Jitsu actually kind of came from originally, bowing is sort of a cultural thing. Well, here in the West, we typically shake hands. So that's kind of what we do at our academy. Every place is different, right? And so if I go to a friend's academy where they refer to the instructor as professor and they bow, I kind of, when in Rome, do as the Romans. I try to make sure that I'm not causing any waves and being respectful of their environment, their culture. So I always respect that. But it's a good thing, even if you're already in jiu-jitsu, it's a good thing to kind of ask what that etiquette is before or right at the beginning, of the class when you go in. Just talk to the instructor and kind of ask them if there's anything specific, and I'm sure they'll at least appreciate that. Pro tip: go watch a class. Most academies are going to have no problem with you going in to watch a class. Just say, hey, is there a fundamentals class or a basics class that I can come and watch? Just to kind of see what all these things are, what people are doing, how they're behaving in the classroom, so that it's not a surprise to you. I would highly suggest doing that. We have a viewing area here at our academy where it's set up, just come on in, watch a class anytime. More than welcome to do that. All right, basic terminology. Okay, I can't cover everything, but we'll throw out some things that are pretty much universal and very common. You'll hear people say, hey, you want to roll, right? Rolling is a word for sparring in jiu-jitsu. Submission. Okay, submission is a word for making the person say uncle, basically, right? So there's all sorts of different types of submissions: shoulder locks, arm locks, foot locks, ankle locks. I guess it's pretty much the same thing.
Chokes.
Yeah, choke holds, right? Tapping out, right? That's what we do when we submit, is we tap out. It's always best to tap on your partner, okay? We see this a lot, especially sometimes the kids are tapping and like, yeah, the kid can't hear you, man. You gotta tap on your partner at least 3 times, okay? So if you can hear it, that's a good thing, right? You can also say tap or uncle, unless you can't. So that's one of the biggest reasons why we do that. So let's say Mandy puts me in a chokehold, okay? Put it on a good one, go ahead. Go ahead. Yeah. Hard to talk.
You only tapped once.
Yeah, sorry, you got the idea. Good choke.
Good.
Yeah, I'm good. So anyway, you'll learn that pretty quickly, but handy to know. Tap early, tap often. Something doesn't feel right, just tap on your partner. Ask questions later, right? Stay safe. Okay? Let's talk about the basic positions that you're going to encounter. Free movement phase. Nobody has any contact with each other. Clinch phase. Jiu-jitsu hug. Lots of takedowns happen from here, but the main thing is distance management, keeping yourself safe, okay? Either all the way out or all the way in. Your instructor should show you that. This is the mount. Mounted position, okay, has extreme advantages in a street fight. So you're going to use this position quite a bit. Obviously, her main objective here is defending herself and escaping, okay? You'll learn a lot of escapes probably right out of the gate, but when you hear us talk about the mount position, this is one of the most basic positions in jiu-jitsu, okay? This is called side control or side body. There's a lot of variations of it, but it's basically a pinning position where I'm on the top of her, but my legs are off to the side. I'm not stuck in between her legs. I'm not sitting over top of her hips. I'm off to the side. So there's different variations. There's all sorts of different, different positions. Some people call it like scarf hold, keisakatami, positions like this, what they call north-south. A lot of positions within the realm of side control, but that's essentially it, okay? Very good position to control somebody from, and eventually we would want to move into the mount position after that, or progress to maybe knee on the belly, okay? So let's look at knee on the belly. I'll have you on the top. Knee on the belly. Sounds exactly like it is. It's their knee on your belly, okay? Now, go ahead, prop up, all right? So in this position, it's a very dominant position on the top. A lot of the same advantages that you have in the mount, okay, you would have here in the knee on the belly, but you also have the ability to disengage much faster and get back up to your feet. So that's one of the advantages we have with this knee on the belly position. Typically when we're here in this position, we're gonna have one knee here and then the other leg is gonna be propped out. The majority of her weight is gonna be on me, but that's essentially it, knee on the belly. A lot of things you can do from this position. The guard. My main objective if I'm stuck on the bottom of the fight is defend myself, okay? The guard is the best position for you to be if you're stuck on the bottom of the fight, okay? You're gonna learn a lot of techniques from this position, chokeholds, arm locks, sweeps, okay? And punch block defenses, okay? This is where the magic happens in jiu-jitsu, is when person on the top may be bigger, stronger, right? But if you put them in this guard position, you have a lot of opportunities, okay? So, for example, if I'm reaching forward trying to choke Mandy, she can spin her body around and put me in an arm lock. Now, she's using her whole body against my one arm, okay? So, just one example, one thing you can do in the guard position. Half guard. This is essentially it. I have control of one of her legs. I don't have my guard or my legs wrapped around her waist. One of her legs is free. I have control of one. My main objective in this position would be to escape and put her into the full guard. Okay? So that's half guard. Okay, so now we're going to talk about some fundamental movements. Okay? I'll have my lovely assistant here demonstrate the bridge or an upa. Okay? This is a move you're going to use pretty much every day you train jiu-jitsu. The closer you bring your feet, the better. Now, what's different about this as opposed to like a wrestler's bridge is we're not going to bridge off of our head. Okay? In jiu-jitsu, you're going to be competing and training with people of all different sizes, and you don't want to strain your neck. The main objective here is to be able to bridge the hips up. Okay? And there you go. So that's a bridge, or what some people would call an upa. Now I'm going to demonstrate something that I would consider a fundamental movement, or a movement that you would want to have in your arsenal as far as, you know, some of the basic techniques. It's called thread the needle. Some people may not agree with this, but I see it as a very fundamental movement, okay? And a very helpful one in a lot of the techniques and positions we do. It looks like this. You're going to sort of bridge your hips up, but you're going to, this is where the thread the needle comes in. Your foot is going to lace underneath and it's going to dig into the floor. So I'll do it this way here. I lift my hips. I'm going to take this foot, swing it all the way underneath, dig it into the floor. I push off the floor. I rotate my hips to be able to come up to my knees. Okay? So that's called thread the needle. It's a little goofy at first, but do it a few times and you'll get it. Shrimp crawl. This is the move that everybody feels dumb doing at first. It's very, very awkward looking, but you will do it every single time you train jiu-jitsu. It is one of the most valuable movements that we have, and it looks like this, okay? You're basically gonna lay on your side, kind of like we tell the kids like you're taking a nap, right? You're gonna put your weight on your shoulder and on the top leg, okay? So there's three basic ways of doing this move. There's one with the top leg, there's one with the bottom leg, and there's one with both legs. 90% of the time you're going to use the top leg shrimp crawl. So that's what we're going to show you. All the weight goes on the shoulder and the top foot. We're going to lift our weight up off of our hips. So you don't have to get your hips up very high, but just take the weight off the mat, and we're going to scoot our hips back. So the shoulder stays in place, and it's just the hips that move. Now she's going to correct herself. She comes back to the other side, and now she's going to do that same move on that side, okay? And then move herself back underneath, okay? So if you practice that at home and you do that right the first time in class, you're going to impress your professor for sure. Front roll and back roll, okay? I would consider this a fundamental movement. A lot of times
Different than gymnastics.
Definitely different than gymnastics, because in gymnastics you don't have somebody who's 200 pounds, you know, over top of you trying to, you know, stack you up in the guard, okay? So being able to protect your neck is very, very important. The way you would do what would they even call that in gymnastics? A somersault? Okay. Or a front roll?
Or a forward
okay.
roll.
Can you demonstrate that quickly? Okay. This is what it would look like if your kids are coming from gymnastics. All the way over the spine like that. What we want to do in jiu-jitsu is protect our neck. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to post an arm. I'm going to bring this arm between my legs. Okay, it doesn't have to go necessarily between my legs. It really has more to do with where my head goes and where my shoulder goes. So it's here, I go forward, and I'm going to fold this leg in. And the same for the back roll. When I go backwards, I'm looking over the shoulder that I'm rolling over. Okay, so if my head moves to the right, I look over my left shoulder. This hand posts on the floor. So I go back, I post. When my knees land, both of my legs are going to stretch to that same side that I rolled over, the same side shoulder I rolled over. My legs fold out like this, okay? Standing up in base. This is very, very important. Anytime you're standing up in jiu-jitsu class, you want to make sure that you're standing up in base. Okay, this is actually a very natural way to stand up. When you watch kids when they're young, we have 8 children, so we've watched 8 kids learn how to walk. When they're first learning how to walk, they're usually pulling themselves up on something. right? A table or a chair or something like that. Then eventually they're in the middle of the floor crawling around and they want to stand up. They bring their feet up like this, and then they move themselves back to center their weight, okay? Eventually they get older, they start sitting in chairs, and they get stronger, and they stand up however they want. So they kind of lose that ability. It's a very natural ability, but you kind of have to relearn it in jiu-jitsu. It's a very, very important part of self-defense, is knowing how to stand up off the ground in the safest, best way possible. And this is it, okay? So it's very similar as far as the weight distribution as the shrimp crawl. You're gonna have your weight on this hand and on that foot. That takes the weight off the hips, okay? And the bottom leg. So she's gonna lift her body up, she's gonna turn her chest down towards the mat, that moves her hips back, and now she's gonna place her foot right behind the posted hand. You don't wanna come up with the foot way back because you're gonna be off balance. So when you lift, you wanna put that foot directly behind the hand. Okay, and always have that leg facing your opponent. Or if you're training in the class, and say you're working on takedowns, you take your partner down, they would turn to face you in order to stand up. Break fall. We're only going to show you the most basic form of the backwards break fall. So if you could stand up for me, that'd be great, awesome. Okay, the main thing about learning how to fall, you're going to take a lot of takedowns in training and in your practice. So it's very, very important right at the beginning to learn how to fall properly, to prevent injury, okay? This is maybe one of the most valuable things, one of the things that's protected me the most over the years. I mean, honestly, falling on the ice is more, I mean, the likelihood of me getting to a fight in the next year is very low. What's the likelihood of me falling? Pretty high, okay? So this is a really, really valuable thing to have in your arsenal, okay? And doing it so much that it becomes reflex. The main thing we're looking to protect here is our head. So we want to keep our chin tucked, all right? And she's going to start from the standing. You can start from sitting down just to get used to it. You're more than welcome to do that, right? To get used to, or if you don't have a soft mat at home to kind of practice this, that's a good thing to do, is just to start sitting down, okay? Now, the idea here with the break fall is to displace the weight across the greater portion of your body as opposed to all that impact going into one spot, which would cause, injury, all right? So what she's gonna do is she's gonna keep the chin tucked, keeps the arms in, okay? Because it's reflex for us to want to catch ourselves. So we wanna break that reflex by keeping the arms in. She's gonna keep those in all the way through until the shoulders are about to touch and the hands go down. You're gonna make an A with your body here, not a T. Definitely no Y, okay? A, bring the arms down. Draw a line right across your belt, smack the mat, palms down, bring your arms right back in, okay? So one more time, please. Good. Did you stand up in base? Good. The uniform that we wear is called a gi. Okay, sometimes they'll call it kimono. Okay, like I said, this is the most traditional part of jiu-jitsu as we practice it anyway, and it has a lot of function. The reality is that you are probably, if you have to defend yourself, you're most likely going to be defending yourself in your clothes against somebody in clothes, hopefully. Right? And clothing is an underutilized weapon in self-defense, and that's one of the main reasons why we train in the gi. Okay? Now, how to tie the belt. There's a million people online who have told me that I tie the belt wrong, but I tie my belt the exact same way that Grandmaster Elio did and the same way that my instructor Helson did. And it's like this. You cross the gi over, okay, and you're going to find the middle of the belt. You're going to put it right here, and this is the simplest variation, by the way. You're going to go all the way in the back. You're just going to cross over, just like that. You're going to come in the front. You're going to lay one over top of the other, and you're going to go under just the front side. Okay, you can go under both. That's perfectly fine, but this is how I do it. Just the front side. Here, whichever one is sticking out on the top, this is the important part of this square knot here, is whichever one's on the top is going to go over the bottom one and through like that. Okay? The reason we want that is because this is nice and level and it's not stuck like this. And you will master that the very first time, your very first class, because your gi is going to come undone about 20 times. We hope this video is helpful. Please like, subscribe, share all that good stuff. Let us know what your first class was like and if there was anything that you found uncomfortable about it. It would be helpful for us, okay, and here at our academy. And yeah, enjoy your jiu-jitsu journey. Should we bow?
No. Goodbye.
Should we say os?
No. What is that even?
Uh,
What even is that?
What even is that? Exactly. What even is that?